sorry, but you're going to have to decipher what the hell you just said. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, all good, man. Like, obviously, you've got leeway before and after your calls anyway. So even if they are running 5 minutes behind, it's all good. And like I said, I don't expect you to know anything I ever talk about. Everything is just a process, and then once you get used to it, it just becomes reality anyway. So that's cool. Yeah. And that's why all the weeks and all the calls going through are just going to break every single thing down. To the point where if you have a question, if there is a problem, if you don't understand it, we spend as long as you need on it. And like I said, every one of these weeks, although there's 3 modules within the next 3 weeks, effectively they can take as long as you want for them to become reality, because in the background, we work on all those other things as well. So predominantly what we're going to work on today is ideally figuring out, although you've mentioned before about creating like your ideal client, what I do my spin on things and go through all of them as well. Again, this is going to be on your Trello board. If you haven't understood Trello, that's completely fine. We can run through that as well. But predominantly, I want to know, first of all, what your ideal client looks like as of what you've tried to build before, and or how we kind of structure it together doing this kind of style. So talk me through exactly what you've done so far up until before you met me, and forming your ideal client.
To be honest, obviously up until a while ago, I didn't really know who my ideal client was. See, I kind of went in with the whole injury rehab was something that I was really good at, and you know, it's kind of weird, like, because I've never really ventured into online, and this is like the biggest thing. Like, for me, the thing that I figure that would be the easiest thing to deal with online, and what I could help the most, is women lacking in confidence, looking to get strong, needing a bit of support, and build them out. Because the rehab stuff, which is the other thing I'm really passionate about, has to be face to face. You know, it's very difficult to do that online because you need to watch people, which is fine. Because as we said, like, if I get that even split of, you know, more of the face to face stuff I do is the, you know, doing the rehabby bits and stuff, that's fine. But the online, for me, my biggest strong point is, you know, writing programs, getting women confident, and being that support network and stuff. But I mean, if that needs to expand, I'm all for it. It's just, as I said, this whole online thing is kind of way out of where I've ever ventured into. The only online client I had was a friend of mine that I knew who asked me if I did online training, because she wanted to do like home workouts and bits and pieces because she couldn't get to the gym. And I was like, yeah, great. But then it kind of fell apart because all of a sudden they had to move house and didn't have the money. So that's pretty much the only online experience I've got. So I'm pretty much a blank page on that one. So I'm happy to be steered into a better direction or molded, because in the nice way, I kind of don't really have a starting point on that one.
Yeah, cool. No, that's fine. And no one really does. And this is where I think a lot of either the misinformation from a lot of other people, and or you kind of, being a personal trainer is one of the best things you can possibly do, and you've experienced that. But the problem with going online is that it's where we were doing personal training, it was kind of like you were a big fish in a small pond, right? You were the kind of the expert in the location. Where online, it's kind of like you're this little pebble in the fucking Atlantic Ocean kind of thing, right? So it's kind of like, oh, okay, so now my strategy that was personal training doesn't really match what I'm saying on my online coaching and who I'm looking for, and most importantly, who are going to come into my company. So one of the biggest things that we do early on, and it doesn't matter how long it takes, is strategize a way that you can get to the point where, like, if you see at the bottom of this page, I go, Jenny's a mum of 4 who works part-time down at a local real estate agent. Somewhere along the line, she lost her self-love, her self-worth. She has issues with trying to please everyone, but therefore ends up not having the time for herself. Her husband is not supportive and wants her to lose weight, but she's tried and failed. So technically, what you said about the person you want to work with almost fits predominantly well with Jenny, right? But what I've done is I understand the exact person who I want to work with, so that if I hear that person say something differently, I know that I don't want to work with them. And when you are an online coach, you will probably most likely turn away more people than you will bring on more people. And that sounds nuts to someone that doesn't have clients. But what you've got to realize is that the openness to become a slave to the trade is much more applicable online than it is face-to-face. You don't have boundaries. You don't have restrictions of a 4-wall. You don't have a location they go to. So you want to work with those people that are not only going to waste your time, not only going to waste your energy, but also realize that you are in a space where you have other people to look after and work with. So you don't want to have to be chasing people not paying you. You don't want to have to be chasing people that are wasting that time and energy. So when we talk about it from this point of view, When we specialize who exactly we want to work with, then all of a sudden, first of all, our product becomes more relatable, our vision becomes more kind of clear, and most importantly, our way of lead generating in our systems become more evident. Because the problem is, if we can't lay the concrete foundation, then when we start building the infrastructure of what your funnel is, what your community is, and how you spread your message, all of a sudden you've got in the back of your mind that that shaky concrete foundation is inevitably going to fall over. It may not be in a year, it may not be in 2 years, but when you try and scale and you add like an attachment to the house, you add some more, people into it, all of a sudden it collapses because of the foundation. First of all, can't be scaled and can't be measurable, but also you start working with the wrong people. Now, there's no point, and trust me, because I've done it like earlier on in my career, is you don't want to work with people for the sake of just getting paid, right? Which is very easily able to be done when you're online, because you can release an ebook in which we're going to release numerous different products together. Then you can get upwards of 100, 200 people downloading your product, because all of a sudden you no longer have to worry about those people coming to your location or checking you out via that. You can actually have thousands of people download your product. And for, Jenny is one of one on this page, but she's one of a million people in the world. Yeah. So you have an unlimited portal of people that you could work with, but it's actually easier to work with people you want to work with than what you don't want to work with, because you can get 30 consults, but it's the ones that are going to show up. It's the ones that are going to actually want to do your training. And most importantly, it's how we give them the blank check and say, we give them a blank check and they will give us whatever they want to give us. And again, I'm not about the money. I'm not about how much you earn, but the money is an outlet in terms of you're fixing their pain, not their problem.
Right.
So it's coming down to the point of saying, okay, well, what's her name? What does she do for a living? How many kids does she have? Is her husband supportive? Does she hate her job? How long does she spend in her job? And all these little things that we don't really think about. It also sounds really, really kind of annoying and vague and frustrating, but you get it once done right, and then you never have to touch it again, because you've got that paragraph. And then when you actually verbalize on social media, you look at that paragraph and say, okay, what is Jenny going to want me to do? What is Jenny going to want me to create? How is Jenny going to feel today? And all of a sudden you've made up this invisible friend like we used to when we were kids. But actually this invisible friend is the millions of people you're going to help in your career being an online coach. So you can't build a product, you can't build a community, you can't build a funnel if you don't know who you want to work with. So out of when I've been talking about that, has anything kind of resonated with you? Have you thought about any of the processes in which you would love to do? So for instance, I've trained coaches to start training dads that don't want to have a dad bod, right? So Greg, he goes down to the pub, he spends $20 or $30 every single day on a jug of beer. But why does he drink? Like, what is the core reasoning why he drinks? It's because he goes to a job that he doesn't feel like he's valued in. He goes home and he's in a relationship that isn't valued. He doesn't get the respect from his wife. He doesn't have the body anymore that he used to when he first married her, right? So all of these little pressures are then causing him to go to an outlet to spend money that he doesn't have on products that he doesn't need. So all of a sudden, because we've said that and we know our ideal client and we talk to them, it's about, okay, well, we've got a product, we've got a package to salute, and we just replicate that package for those people. But we, like, for instance, that coach, what he does extremely well is he trains 4 or 5 of them on a call every single week. So because they need that community, and we know that because of the way we formulated it, we actually go, okay, well, this is how we want to work with them. But he only works with those people. If they're not that specific person, they say, okay, you go and do something else. You go and work in the rest of my funnel, and I will talk to you when you need me, because that person, although we'll pay him in the short term, will probably be one of those clients that will stop and never talk to him again. And then you'll end up just chasing him for money and time. So it's about really, although it seems really easy, it's about building on that foundation and making sure that those stables and those blocks are being built from there. So how does that sound? And have you got any kind of ideas so far, or do you need some more kind of like clarity? Do we need to like brainstorm some more?
So I think, because funny enough, my the owner of the gym, Gary, we had this conversation before. Like, my most lucrative client that I've ever had, well, she still is my client, to be fair, is a lady called Karen. It's always Karen, isn't it? Karen, she started with me when she was 51, zero confidence, overweight, has tried various things before, needed somebody to believe in her so she could believe in herself.
Yep.
And it kind of stemmed on, she'd started training with me, and it came from, strange enough, another trainer who she was assigned to just wasn't interested in, like, she was literally offering him money to do more sessions and he just wasn't interested. So I was like, right, well, I'll clearly swoop in there. Thanks very much. And after training her I gave her 3 weeks notice to do her first obstacle course run with me. It was a 7K. She'd never done anything before. And she was like, oh, you know, do you think I can do it? I was like, I wouldn't have asked you if I didn't think you're ready for it. And then she instantly, from that moment, decided she wanted to do more sessions in the short term. So she ramped herself up to 4 sessions a week for 3 weeks. We did the obstacle course run. She then became this new person, but she's still with me now doing 4 sessions a week. She pays regularly, monthly into my bank. And that's, I suppose, if I was to find an avatar, that's it. Woman, late 30s to 40s, maybe a couple of kids, has lost sort of the love for her body, and also sort of mental confidence. She's doesn't feel strong enough to walk into a room and be a presence, you know, be somebody who turns heads and stuff. Not even in a narcissistic way, but she used to, when she was younger, obviously, before you have kids, it's no different with any woman. You know, they feel something different, and they have kids and they turn into a mum, and they want to feel what they did before being a mum, but still be a mum. And that's probably where I'm strongest, because I obviously have that mental health background. I'm a dad myself, so I can relate and that kind of thing. So that's, I would say, if I was going to take my most successful client or my most long-term client that's never let me down, and I have expanded a bit on that, I do well with that kind of range. I'm not the young trainer. In fact, the biggest thing that people will come and say to me, if we probably use all the strong points, they said, the reason that I like training with you is because you're not an 18-year-old kid who's trying to tell me how to get fit and healthy whilst having kids and stuff. You have kids, you've done like 2 or 3 jobs, so you figure you know what I'm talking about. When I turn around and say to you, I've had a bad day and I haven't done everything you've asked, my instant reaction is, as long as you did something, that's perfect. I get it. Life gets in the way. Fitness is, as much as you want it to be your number 1 priority, I get that it's not. After family, work is probably number 4 on your list. But if we can find some consistencies that keep you going, then on the good days, we can really ramp it up. And that's always been my approach to things. So I have a lot of people sort of come to me because a lot of the other trainers, they're like, well, you know, it's easy for this guy. You know, he's got the abs. He's 18 years old. All he's going to tell me is to eat less, move more. Whereas you can turn around and say, I get it. You've had a crap day. You've not slept in a few days. Your kid's been playing up. This is kind of how we're going to work this. So on these bad days, here's your plan. So they know that they're not going to be judged for not getting it right every single time. And that's where I've made my money basically out of people and guys as well. To be fair, I do have guy clients. I'm not advertent to training guys. I've just found that my most successful client base that I've had are women of the age of like 30 plus. They work either part-time or, you know, near enough full-time, and they want to invest into that feeling. They're not even worried about the physique side of things. It's more they just want to feel better in themselves. So that's where I sort of nab onto people. I'm like, right, let's work on that. You know, all of my clients, and understand they're going to train with me for at least a year, because it's like, look, I need to fix all these other things, your relationship with food, how you feel about yourself. Then we'll work on physique, and all the meantime, we're going to get strong. And that's how it's kind of worked. I mean, obviously people will atrophy off after a while, but they've never dropped off because they didn't enjoy the training or they didn't enjoy the message I was trying to give them. It just became a point of, oh, you know, something's popped up and then they can't come back and train, or they break up with their partner. So the income's changed and stuff. So that would be probably my avatar would be, you know, Karen in her 50s, kids are grown up, feeling a bit down about herself, wants to feel strong and confident again, overcome that demon that she walks in and she just feels like, you know, everyone's just dumping stuff on her and ignoring her, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So so we want to now so we want to look at probably what, like you said, 30 to 40s, right? So 50s being the ideal avatar, 30 to 40s. That's cool. All right. So if we dive deeper into what I got from that is no confidence, lust for love. She wants some sort of commitment in her life that is going to be stable and able to be like, okay, this is going to happen in my week every week. Right. And then most importantly, build relationships that are going to be positive rather than negative. So if we were to think about even if we took the no confidence, the lust for love, and maybe the relationship, maybe, I don't know, something maybe, or one of those things, body image issues, whatever we want to say. we took those three things and we put them in as the pillars of what we did with success, how did she get to that point? Now, what I say to this is that it's almost like it's unrelated to personal training, because with personal training, you find those people naturally because they're in the gym, right? They come into the gym, they look for it anyway. With this one, we kind of have to reverse engineer in the way that we need to come up with a pattern interrupt. We need to come up with a marketing opportunity, and this comes later in the thing anyway. But most importantly, the three pillars, effectively the pattern interrupt, the community, and the marketing. So we reverse engineer and say, okay, well, what got her to that point? Like, what happened in her life, hypothetically at this point? What happened in her life to cause her to have no confidence? What happened in her life to cause her to have no love? What happened in her life to cause her to have those body images? And this is why I said, by the time we come to our next call, we want to have three nailed down completely. So 1, 2, and 3, which is effectively in your head, I want to imagine you have three pillars that are holding, or effectively three, right? 3 pillars of success that we want to have with that client. But what was the 3 reasons why, or it can be more than 3, what was the reasons why she didn't have any confidence, right? What is the reasons why she didn't have any love for herself? And what is the reason why she didn't have that commitment in her life, that she was literally opening her wallet up to pay someone else to be consistent in her life? Because what you told me was that she's willing to throw money at a trainer that she doesn't really care about at that point, right? To just get more sessions, because she wants more of a commitment to herself, because nothing else in her life gives her that.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, completely. So yeah, it's funny because you saying how you do that. It's how I deal with my clients that are going through horrible things. I turn and say, so like, let's go to the point where, you know, I've done it with Alex as well, because I know she's spoken to you about everything that happened to her. And I was like, you know, the way you got to look at it is the worst case scenario you have is like that traumatic event. Okay. So that's the worst thing that can happen. I was like, and I literally just what you just said is exactly what I said to this person. I was like, right, how did you end up there? Well, I did this, this, and this. Right. So let's take it back from the worst point. How would you end up there again? Well, if I did this, right. So we're not going to do that, are we? How did you end up here? Well, if I do that, right. And as you can see, you're so far away from getting there. But what we're saying is like, look, the reason you got here is because I suppose in my client's case, it was she just needed to take on a job because she was a single mum. So she grabbed the job she could. She hates it every second of it. Like 8 hours of her day, every day she spent, can't stand it. So she's trying to find something positive. So that's probably pillar 1. She actually wants something that she spends time in that gives her something back. It actually is positive and rewarding, because she spends 8 hours a day at work, hating every second of it, because she works with idiots and she can't leave the job, unfortunately, because she's, you know, the way she feels is that she's 55. You know, she can't get out of the job now. Nobody's going to hire her at the money she's on and stuff. So she comes to me because she likes that positivity, that fact that she's putting her time into something that's going to give her something back. She got overweight by letting life get away from underneath her. You know, I suppose in Karen's case, there's a little bit more to it, but for most of them in that case, they get caught up with being a mum. Every parent understands, you know, it's one of those things. You do put your health on hold sometimes to make sure your kids get everything they need. So what happens is that time slipped away. They weren't concentrating on things anymore. They maybe didn't have anyone who was accountable to them. So then, you know, time grudges on. Nobody gets overweight overnight. You don't wake up the size of a house. It happens over a long period of time. So that time slipped away from her. She wasn't paying attention anymore. She stopped looking after herself because she had something else to deal with. When her kids grew up, she was still stuck in the whole, where do I go now? And so brain's fried for a second. So so those are the first 2 at least.
Yep.
So literally hates 90% of her life, so she needs something that's going to give her some joy however many times a week, which is, I suppose, a very easy one to sell. You know, your job's not fulfilling, it doesn't give you a reward physically or mentally, you know, so taking on training will help you find that passion again, that fire, that, you know, I'm putting something into myself that challenges me, but I can physically see a reward coming out of it. And there's somebody praising me at the end rather than you getting stuff dumped on your desk. Can you get that finished? You get it finished. Oh, nice one. Yeah. You know, very empty and nothing comes of it. And the other one is actually being held accountable again and guided through that horrible phase of not knowing where you're going and thinking, what do I eat? How do I look after myself again? Because you've forgotten how to look after yourself. That's the one. They've forgotten how to look after themselves. Yes, Matt, there we go.
Yeah. And the cool thing about it, and this is why I love online coaching probably more than face-to-face, at this stage, because the way that you just talk now, literally all you have to do, walk down the street, get your phone in front of you, bam, you've got an amazing ad, right? Like that is how powerful the way that you just told me that story is. Now, obviously you would refine it and you would build it and you would scale it, but you having that opportunity, like when you said that paragraph, right, before the start of the conversation between now, you can see that almost, if not maybe at the same length and like stature of what we said about Jenny, right? So what I said is that you take that paragraph, and this is going to be like the first little bit of homework we can do between now and next week, is that when you have that paragraph, that is the foundation of your business. So people are going to ask, how was your business founded? Karen founded my business because I work with Karens, right? So then what you do is say, okay, well, what does Karen need outside of our coaching to be successful? Now, these can be numerous different things. And this is where we differentiate. Okay, we've got the pillars, right? And we've just said it, and this is why it's also vital that we record these so you can go back and watch them. It's making it realize that, okay, now we have the 3 pillars. What are we going to put on top of those pillars? So if you can imagine it in your head, we're building those like ancient Roman kind of buildings or Greek buildings. We've got the 3 pillars. Now we're just going to lay the foundation. So the foundation is going to be, what does that person need to then build the foundation outside of our coaching? So, we have our call every week, but sustainability, do they even need a call directly with me, or do they need like a group call, or do they need a like X, Y, like the way that we do our coaching is really up to what you feel like Karen needs. So it always comes back to her, because if we work it from what we need, it doesn't work. This is why so many coaches fail. They come from what we think they need, but actually what we need to do is really understand, what does blank need in order to be successful. So does she need a group coaching? Is she too intimidated to be on a group call? Is she too intimidated to work with you one-on-one, like face-to-face, like we are now? What does that person need? And then all of a sudden we start building that product, or building that package out. So from that we say, okay, well, does she need a VIP group, or does she need a VIP chat? Does a VIP group intimidate her? For instance, is it better off to have a group that is just directly with people that are on your program through a messenger chat, a WhatsApp chat, or do we need a group that you can keep posting to all the time? But if we keep adding people into that, is that just going to be too intimidating for it? What do you think?
So just thought out need number 3 of our pillars, needs to feel like she's part of something.
Cool.
Because they've usually done Weight Watchers, Slim and World, all these other community-based things, because it's the community that holds them accountable. I'm personally really good at that anyway, and if I use the expansion of that model with my older women that are lifting, I got them together, and now they're a group of friends. They are literally inseparable. They meet every Sunday. They go out for coffee. They talk about lifting and stuff like that, and that's pulled her, because she felt very isolated before. She has friends, obviously, but none that share her passion. So I think the biggest thing as well that's going to keep them going is, so my 3 pillars I've got written down is spending time in the place where they're not fulfilled. So they want to feel something more. They want to push themselves again, like we do when you're younger. They've forgotten how to look after themselves. So they need that education and guidance and support, but they also want to feel part of something big where other people are like in the same boat as them. So the thing is as well, I think for a lot of these people, the potential to switch them to a larger group is there, but they need a little bit of nurturing in the beginning. So one-to-one calls in the beginning are going to be really important to them, because they can really buy into it and know that they've got the support that they need at any time. And then sort of keep them, maybe introduce them to both. So they have their one-to-one call, but there's always a group that they can chat to if they need it, that's being led by me, in the morning. Hey guys, how's everything going? How we doing? Any problems today? A few people pipe up, oh yeah, I had the same problem. That's where the community bit comes in. So one-to-one in the beginning will be really important, and as they move further down the line of coaching, when they've done it for a little while, they can start not necessarily needing so much one-to-one, because they know that the community they're part of supports them and gives them sort of the answers they need as well.
Yep. And exactly. And the thing is, you talking, like, I almost want to buy your product, right? Like, cause I'm like, yeah, that's like, and the thing is, like I said, when I checked out, like I said on the calls, like when I checked out your social media, half the work is already done, right? Because you have the confidence to sit on the camera. You have the confidence to portray that already, right? And you're going, like, the passion's already there. It's about saying, okay, instead of going like this, right? Like spreading out so far, What we're going to do is
Yeah.
go this. Yes, we don't hit everyone, but we hit the people that we actually want to hit. Now, you mentioned about Slimming World, all of those companies. Now, all we do is when we jump into actual marketing, you just create those as audiences. All of a sudden, what you do is when you talk to someone that has been let down all their life, they're gonna leap out to you because you're different. You've already created a pattern interrupt by just being different.
Yeah.
So by forming this, right, what we need to do is say, okay, well, she needs to feel part of something. What does that part of something represent in your world of your business? Now, a VIP group is the easiest way to do that, but the VIP group probably has to be specific enough to realize that the only way you get into that is by either getting on a call or being in a group, being on your client. Because if you bring people in that are downloading your products, they're going to have the wrong mindset because, your products are going to be amazing, but they may be that person that comments something wrong on a person's message, and then that person's going to go off and feel like crap, right? Yeah. So it's about, okay, well, what can that person do outside of our call? What does that person need to do outside of our call? And then all of a sudden we can reverse engineer it like we did just before and say, okay, they get our call, but they also go into a community like the other 20 or 30 women. And obviously it'll be weird to start off with because you're only here one-on-one, but the way that you do it is you bring in a group of people, or do we just work with groups of people instead of one-on-one individuals?
Yeah.
That comes between you as well. I mean, at the end of the day, is the semi-private model, like you get 2 or 3 people on a call, you build that community, you have a call with them, or do they need to be individualized? What do you think Karen needs?
Yeah, good question. See, this is what I needed. I think I would personally say it would be one of those kind of like an interviewing process. So you speak to them individually.
Yep.
And you get an idea that there's a few people that are in the same boat, and then suggest them, look, you know what? I've actually got 2 other people that are exactly in the same boat as you right now, almost uncannily the same. How would you feel about bringing you guys together in a group? So now you have people that understand what you're going through. I'll always be here as that end source, but we can, get you guys, because I think a lot of women, the half the part is starting, isn't it? When it's one-on-one, it's very easy to sort of bare your soul all of a sudden, and people get very reserved if they've got like 2 or 3 more people in the call. Mm-hmm. And maybe especially if you're quite shy, which most people in this situation are, they're quite happy to sit back sometimes. And I think that they could walk away potentially, especially if they're shyer than the other 2, feel like they didn't get much out of it because they weren't engaged in enough. And obviously it's my job to lead it, but if 2 people are like, oh yeah, I need this and this, this one person sits in the back, and they're the people that need you the most and probably going to stay with you the longest, rather than these more confident ones that are just battering back and forth. So I think potentially almost doing like the first couple of calls, very much like we did, it's more like a getting to know, building a bit of rapport, nailing that bit down and going, how would you feel about next time we do a phone call, just bringing a couple of people in as well who are in the same boat as you, because then your ideas can bounce off one another and I can give you all help at the same time. I think that would probably be slightly better than maybe just instantly dropping people into a group. But then I suppose as you qualify down and you refine that process, you can then make it a point of saying that, sometimes you are going to, as long as they know and they're aware of it, rather than just dropping them in, bang, here's 2 other people. So
you could structure it to be like, okay, well, the Karens started because you're working with the same client over and over and over again. They're just formed differently and they look differently, right? So what you could do is say, okay, well, you want a minimum term on contracts normally. So you go maybe you spend like 6 weeks with them, which is one-on-one. And then they go into the 6-week, like you do 3 different programs effectively in one course. So you do the 6-week intensive with you and that person individually. Then you move on from 6 to 8 weeks, or 6 to 12 weeks, 6-week blocks or whatever you want, however long you want to do it. Then they start working with a running buddy or 2 more people. So it's you plus 2 other people plus her. So that's 4, right? So then all of a sudden, then the other one, they go into another, or they can go up to another group, and then they can say, okay, and in their eyes, what happens is the price changes in terms of it doesn't get more expensive for them, which is the other opposite thing we want to do. But actually what it does is you can have different packages. You can go from this is the one-on-one coaching, they can go into a group, and then all of a sudden you push them into a community, or you can keep them even at just the 2 6-week pods. and they can go on forever. So then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you don't get stuck with the capping problem, because I don't know if you do want to expand or not. You don't get the problem where you can only work with 30 individuals. You then say, okay, well, every 6 weeks, I then go into a group, which is still just as productive, but it actually adds more value for less commitment from their point of view.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And that was the thing as well. It's like, because that works out perfectly, because it kind of incorporates what I said before about having that almost like a paid community, if it were, like
Yep.
a small amount. You have all the access to all the information I put out. I jump in on a set regular basis. So it might only be like once every 2 weeks or whatever else. But then that's almost like, it's not to put it in a horrible way, but it's like the social dump at the end. Like, you've done 6 weeks intensive where we've worked really closely together to really nail it down. Then we go into your small group. You've got your nice little community. Then you go into the larger community, and it's like, right, let's meet up. You know, how many people are in this, how many in this position? And yeah, so it then becomes simple, because you can then expand indefinitely. Because I don't have any issue with, you know, I'm a very sociable person, like in the nicest possible way. Once you've performed Shakespeare in front of a couple of hundred people in a ruff and pant and tights, you know, big groups ain't a problem, my man. Like, I've done it. So, like, you know, I have no issue having that many people's attention on me.
Yeah.
It's just, on the other side, you know, every trainer goes through this, like, am I saying the right thing? Is it structured? That was my biggest fear, was like not knowing how to structure these things and how to break it down, and just offering out something crap. Because it doesn't bother me what people say about me online and stuff, because you know, my clients know that I give them everything. You know, like, every ounce of energy I can give them, I'll give them. What I didn't want is somebody to turn up really wanting help and me just not have anything ready to give to them, and being like, I'm so sorry, this didn't help you out, because I'm not entirely there.
Yeah. So the thing is, it's like one of the biggest opportunities I can allow you to see is the fact that you're never going to have a perfect product, right? You're going to have people that come into your business, and they're going to want different things. Now, the only reason you would create something is if there's a demand. So realistically, you should go into every scenario not having anything. Because you should be a supply and demand. There's no point reinventing a wheel that isn't going to work, because 1, you don't have the time, 2, you don't have the income, and 3, you don't have the patience, right? No one does.
Yeah, sure.
So the idea and the strategy, I like the way that it sounds, and you're resonating with it quite well as well, is that if you do that process, one of 2 things, it encourages them to be committed, first of all. The second, it means that normally you'd have a problem with the client, no matter how good the client is, around that 6 to 8 week mark anyway, which means they're going to get a new type of thing, which means they're going to stay on longer. And 2, they shouldn't be solely dependent on you for a long period of time anyway. But again, we talk about that next week in the community. But ideally, what we want to do going forward is figure out, okay, well, we've got our ideal client, we've named it, we've done it, and we're going to go away and write it down into a paragraph. The second thing we want to focus on is, okay, what does that person need in terms of an infrastructure? What's the insulation that person needs within their house or their platform to stay warm, stay dry, and stay confident? Now, it's not going to be like, we don't have to come up with it straight away, but it's more of a, okay, well, do they need that, do they need a onboarding system where, they get an email, we can set up to be that in the back end? Do they get a VIP group? Do they get the VIP chat, as well as getting our calls for the first 6 weeks? What do they need the most to make sure that they're not going to fall off the wagon because they've got the commitment issues, because they don't love themselves, because they don't appreciate it? It's coming up with that. Okay, there's no point trying to reinvent a wheel, because we don't want to come out and be this extravagant, I've got this new messages sequence that's never been proven before. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
What's going to work is saying, okay, well, instead of just saying I have a VIP group, we call it something different, right? We're using the same thing that everyone else is using, but we're packaging it different to make sure it's relatable to that client.
Yeah.
Don't even have to call it a VIP group. We call it like the Mums Elite, or like the something elite, or you know what I mean? Like, come up with a really cool name that your business is your business, and your business name is your business name. But what is the product that you're known for? What is the one thing you're known for? And then all of a sudden you've got this match of, unbelievable community, because you've named this product that they can't live without.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, sure.
that's how you start scaling to the point of like saying, I'm not talking about scaling in terms of financially, but you can then start saying, okay, well, I could only think of before I could only help 20 people, but now I've got the
Yeah.
system and now I know exactly who I want to work with. I could work with 100 people every month
Yeah,
because
sure.
they're going into different pods. And I would even go to say is like, okay, well, they need those one-on-one calls. But then again, what we could do is use it from a point of view and say, okay, well, if you were, it's the world's our oyster in terms of what we want to create, but it really comes down to, most importantly, what the client needs rather than what we think we need to create.
Yeah.
Like go into your PT realm and say, okay, well, I've got that ideal client, which you've just created the most amazing ideal client formula. But if we were to go there and say, okay, well, what does she actually need outside of the gym? Because she's a PT client, so she's never going to resonate with the stuff that's online. But
Yeah.
if we were to create that avatar and say, okay, well, if she was on Facebook right now, what would she need as soon as she's bought into the program? You know, what does she need, and what have I done with Karen in the past that I didn't even realize I was doing, that I could formulate to put that as a digital product or a digital service?
Yeah, no, completely. I suppose from that as well, it's information that empowers you to know what you're doing. So, you know what I mean? Like, I have actually written an ebook. I do have an ebook on
Perfect.
my Instagram, which is a beginner's guide to weight loss, and it
Mm-hmm.
just puts down. And I put it out there. A few people like read up to it and got on an email list that I haven't really touched, unfortunately, because as I sent it out, I had that downward spiral. But I had some feedback from a lady who follows me in America, and she was like, it was great because it was really easy to understand. I didn't feel confused. It brought things to mind that I hadn't thought of before that were very easy to follow, but it also reminded me that there were things that I was doing right in the first place. So I think
Yeah.
that's what they need in the very beginning, is to know that, you know, the reason from a behavioral point of view, the reason people push back is because they're basically being told every decision you've made up until now has been wrong. That's how you ended up where you are. And it's like, actually, the biggest way to get someone to buy in straight was going, you know what, you are 99% there. You know, you've done so well so far. Here's this guide. Here's all the information you need to get started. And that's what I'm happy to write anything that needs to go down. Like, here's your beginner's guide to weight loss. Okay,
Yep.
here's your beginner's guide to, just saying that. And you know what? You were so close. You really were. Just a few things got out of the way. So you know what? Well done, you. You've done almost everything you need to do. So you instantly bring them up. You instantly validate like 80% of their decisions. You go, you were just getting 20% wrong. And that's where I'm here to fix that 20%. Because if you come in and give them everything and basically read it and just go, wow, I have just made the worst decisions in my life ever. They're just, it just almost reinforces the fact that they're lost. And I think you need to instantly show them that they were actually really on the right path, and by coming to you, they're going to get that last little bit, that one, like I did with you, and I explained to you, like, I know where I'm sort of need to go, and I know that I've made some good decisions, but I'm veering off in the wrong direction, and as that's what I think they need in the beginning, is they get onto an email. So in this email, here's your packs, here's your beginner's guide to weight loss, some simple basic guides that you can do right now, and they're so easy. It's not going to bamboozle. It's not like, all right, here's a 30-day HIIT program, and you don't know how to do a lunge, and I'm like, but I need you to do 70 of them. Well, that ain't going to work. It's like, right, here's your guide. You're going to drink some more water. We're going to work on your sleep. We're going to try and manage your stress. And the bit that's the hardest bit for everybody, which is getting yourself into an environment which wants you to grow and progress. I am that environment. So you know what? You don't even have to worry about one of those, because I've given that for you. You've come to me. I'm your environment. I want you to grow. I want you to succeed. And so does everybody else I'm going to introduce you to. So it's kind of already there. I just have no idea how to push that out, because that's what I've found personally. What everyone buys into is because they feel that whenever they walk away, one, they've got the information they need to do it without me, but they don't want to, because I'm creating that environment where whenever they come in, they're going to be lifted up at the end of it. And especially in the beginning, like when I do, I suppose if I look at it from a PT perspective, the first thing I do with everybody is like, we're just going to do a little movement screen. I just want you to do some squats. I want you to do a hip hinge. I want you to do an overhead press. And I want you to try some press ups. And the way I do it is I like, show me what you're doing right now. I'm not going to explain anything to you. I just want to know how you move. And I tweak a few little things. And I'm always saying, you know what? That was really good. That was almost there. I can see what you're doing there. Don't worry. It just means you need a little tweak a few things. And I walk away every time going, oh, I thought you were going to absolutely rip me apart, but you didn't. It took a few little tweaks, and I feel much better about how I move. And that's how I've put it in. So I suppose it's doing that exact same thing, but from a sendable sense. So, because obviously I can't necessarily do a movement screen, but I can go, right, here's your guide that I want you to start with. So your first week, or until we talk next, you're going to read through this PDF. It's really simple. You're doing so well anyway, but let's just maybe revisit a few things that you might need to tweak. And here's the things you haven't thought about, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, so automatically what we could do is understand that as soon as, from a logistical point of view, as soon as that payment goes through, as soon as they've signed up on that onboarding call, what they should do, or what we could do, is set up a sequence of events that happen. So first of all, they get a welcome email. Second of all, they get an email like maybe 2 hours later that has all that stuff in it, like 1, 2, 3, 4 to do before they do the first call. So they shouldn't be overwhelming, but they should be 2 or 3 little wins that they can do. Like if I was blind, amputated and not able to move, I should be able to do those 3 things.
Yeah, sure.
Meaning that like they shouldn't be anything to do with the first call, but everything to do with building their confidence and making sure they're reassured on the right decision. Go and watch a testimonial, go and watch a case study, go and watch a webinar, all things that they can watch and listen to, because they still need, at that point, they'll probably still need social proof that they've made the right decision. And then on the first call, what you can do is just have the system where we go through this later on, but we teach you how to do the actual call and structure it so they always go away with homework, but they're always easy wins, right? For the first 6 to 8 weeks, it should just all be like done, 3 things done. So from that point of view, you turn around and say, okay, well, I've just really reverse engineered what my coaching program is about. We've got the 3 pillars, which are naturally going to be the 6 weeks of the first calls, 1, 2, and 3. Then within those 3-week blocks, or however long you want to block each pillar into, we say, okay, well, how does that person achieve that by not overwhelming themselves? And again, what I would suggest doing is that you could do something like a group in the community base, and we talk about this more next week anyway, but if we give them in a community side of things and they have to go in there and they have to talk about what they're going through in each stage, all of a sudden that's becoming a small step because they've never been able to express something that they've done before, right? So all of a sudden they're like, oh, cool, I just got off this amazing call with Vince. Then I'm going to go into the group. And once I've finished that module, that's our homework, they go and say, finished module 1.
Yeah.
You know, it could be a quiz within the group that's only unlocked by a password of some sort. You give them the password and it's already there, because they shouldn't be trying to do more. Like it comes down to like what's Jenny and what's Karen, right? What does she need to do? What's your client done that's allowed her to have those small wins where she transitioned from not even being able to pay a trainer to train with her to having you? What were those small things that she did every week that made you different? All you have to do is think about that and say, how can I put that online? Now, that is the biggest pitfall, and I understand that is, but it's keeping it simple, stupid, right? It's that saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this big show off little, product because it's online. It can be literally, okay, here's a spreadsheet. Each week, I want you to rank out your days by 1 to 10. I want you to see how much water you've had. I want you to see what you've done. And then all of a sudden we bring that to our call and say, okay, cool. Now you said to me on Messenger that you were feeling down, you're feeling ill, you're feeling bad. Now look at the stats in which we did, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden you've just created supply and demand. You haven't come up with something that is new and inventive. You've just come up with something that the client needs. All of a sudden, because you're working with the exact same clients or close enough or roundabout, you've actually created a module that can now be systemized. Don't expect yourself for the first 5 or 10 clients to have everything down. It's not going to be perfect. You're not going to have everything. In fact, you'll probably message me being like, probably should have created this. And I'm like, well, you probably shouldn't have, because you didn't know you needed to create it until you started working with it. And this is why the process in which I do and the process in which you've seen others go through is so realistic, because you go through these things to practice before you do it.
Yeah,
that's right. Because there's no point trying to go out there and find clients to pay you where actually you need the actual people to go through the system to see if it actually works.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So it all starts, like I said, it all starts with creating your ideal client. We've got exactly what she does. We've named her, we've given that paragraph, but now it's like, okay, well, what does she need? What are like the 2 or 3 things she needs on a weekly basis that isn't going to overwork you, isn't going to be reliant on you, but everything reliant on community.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't have to be this massive group. It doesn't have to be this extravagant thing. But what you could do is say, okay, well, if we're only going to work in certain areas, then we create pods of which people have to go out and do things, and we can create that later. But it's okay. How do we store everyone in this little environment which only produces enjoyment, only produces excitement, and only produces results? Where we can get, especially if you're going to work with females, how are they going to be confident enough to post their progress photos, post their transformation photos, post their meals, all in that group? How are we going to get that happening? And that comes from, actually thinking about it deep down and saying, instead of just creating a VIP group for the sake of creating one, let's create a VIP group that invigorates people as soon as they get in there. Do they have unit learning modules that they go through? That's an add-on to the coaching. That's just an add-on for being in the group. Is there a quiz that I can go and do to find out what kind of demographic they fit best into, right? Or whatever you need to do. And then all of a sudden, you breed that success in that group, and that group does half your work. So when you're, off work sick, or you are sick for that week, or you want to go away on holiday for a week or 3 days or whatever you want to do, you've got that community to not only, when you put them in there, to build their confidence, but also keep them there for a long time.
Yeah.
Because it's never going to be your calls that a person stops doing something on. It's always going to be afterwards or outside of those calls, because we can't control them getting a really expensive phone bill. We can't control them getting a really expensive whatever happens. Can't expect them to always think like that. So our community is our bread and butter. It's what all of those ambassadors do for us while we're not working with them. But it is completely and utterly up to you what you want to do with it. So, to finish off what we're talking about, what sounds the best to your kind of ideal client? Not you, because it's easier to say what we want to do, but what does your ideal client need?
It's a tough one. I know what I want. It's just kind of articulating it properly.
Voice up as much as you can and see if two brains are beating.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I suppose it's reassurance. I think the biggest thing is the reassurance that they're on the right track and that somebody else is either making the same mistakes or moving along the same path as them. Because if we are using the Karen avatar, she's very conscious about what she's doing and constantly needs to feel like she needs to explain herself all the time. Oh, well, I did this because I did that. I did this because that happened. And it's like, that's what they need. They need to know that no matter what, to the point where they feel like, if they feel they need to rationalize it, that's fine. Because somebody else go, oh yeah, no, exactly that. But at the same time, they get to the point where they can go to a group and feel that, if they make a mistake, it's fine. If they do great, it's fine. It's like everything is just part of the learning curve. And it's that validation that they're on the right track. And that's the biggest thing for them, because they're so conscious that they've failed before that any little wobble is going to make them doubt whether they can do it or not. So I think the biggest thing they need, and that obviously that community being key, and you're very right, is the moment they enter into it, they know that they can't kind of get it wrong, because everything they're doing is moving towards that end goal, which is going to be a positive thing. So it's like, you know what, you screw up, it doesn't matter. Because as you say, the whole imperfection thing is what's the most appealing thing to them, is that they know that they're not under pressure to make sure they're losing that amount of weight every week, not to. But if they can consistently be there and consistently, like, even if it's like, right, I want everyone just to post a hi in the group every day, that one little thing, you consistently did something every day. So even if you fudge the rest of the day up, just by being in this group, you've hit your consistency marker that I need for the day. You've just come in, you've liked to post, you've interacted, you're still reminding yourself that you're part of something that's going to keep you motivated and going. And then from there, because you are constantly tapping into it, then sharing things in the group, it's nothing. It might as well be, your dog in the room, because you interact with these people so often, even on a small margin, that it's like, well, it's social media, isn't it? You've got to treat it like it's their social media. They should come into the group feeling like these are people they'd interact with normally, because then it doesn't matter what they share, because they feel that these people are people that they are their peers, and they're people that they've decided to get into the group with. And I suppose if we were going to word it that way, you kind of say to them, by accepting this invite and by taking this on, you have already joined a group of people that because they are you. So you don't have to feel bad about anything you share, because you're just talking to you. You might as well be stood in front of a mirror talking to yourself, because whatever you feel they felt, some might be a little bit more confident than you, some might even be new, and guess what, they're going to look to you to come in and be like, you know what, I'm feeling really bad, and you can go, yeah, I felt like that last week, but I stuck at it and I feel good, and you can be the mentor then. So I suppose you're trying to get them to feel almost like they're on the same level as me, but I'm just that next level up. So when people like to lead, people like to feel like they're leaders. I find, especially like these people, they don't like to think. I mean, I actually, I tell you what, big thing with Karen is she hates to think people at any point don't have somebody that wants to help them. Like if I turned around and said that I've got a leak on my roof, she'll turn up with a ladder, or she'll go find a ladder. She'll drive to the local hardware store to get a ladder to bring it to me, because she can't bear the thought of thinking that I didn't have somebody when I needed it. So I suppose if we play on that and go, you know what, you get to be the coolest person in this group, because now if you think somebody needs you, you can be there for them.
Yep.
And building up from that. So yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, you've just answered your question there.
Running, didn't it?
Yeah, but that's it. Like, honestly, I think one of the most powerful things we're going to have together is the fact that you can rewatch these. Because if you rewatch them and listen to your own notes, then yes, you're taking notes in the call perfectly. I love it. But also you've got this database that you can go back and say, oh, what did I say? Like, because sometimes our notes don't really make sense. But I think you just answered it perfectly there. It's a perfect note to go on to next week on, because now we're going to say, okay, well, we've had some time to think about it between now and next week. Our biggest goal is to make sure we've got that paragraph nailed down. We have the kind of the name of what we're going to call our community, like our ambassadors. Like, don't think about it like your business name. Don't put a business stand on it. Like, put something on like, Supermum's Elite, or, like all of these things that are just like this weird but catchy name. It doesn't have to be a business name, because it's not going to be your business. It's going to be your product and your service. So you can have your business name that you already have now, but you're known for having, because Nike aren't known for having Nike. They're known for their products they have. Apple aren't known for Apple product. They're known for individual products, right?
Yeah, sure.
So they're known for an iPhone, but it's made by Apple. So you're known for X, made by your personal training business. So don't think about it. And this is where it's like, you want to stay away from presenting that, because it should be a product, because it's only going to be one of many things you're going to create over the lifetime of your business. So the second thing is coming up with some kind of understanding of like, okay, we know our ideal client. What is the service, or what is the product that person needs? And again, that doesn't have to be answered now. And then the third thing coming up and saying, okay, what does she need? A VIP group, but what's in that VIP group? Right. Yeah. So, in that VIP group, is there going to be modules or video series they have to watch over the next 6 weeks? Individual, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6. So you only have to shoot them once, but you put them in the group and they can be rewatched as many times as possible. And your clients and your all of them can come back and watch more. But also, what are the prerequisites for working with that client? Because we may think in our head, oh, that's too much for that person to post every day, but it can't be us. We can't do, daily revs every morning. Because as soon as we fill that spot, then all of a sudden you're reliant on doing that, which isn't sustainable. So if we can make them do it, although it seems like, if you were to say that to a lot of people, it may be lazy or maybe whatever, but it's not. It's creating that adherence to that person's program, because they're in it for them, not us.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny enough. There's another group. I don't know whether you've heard of them. They're called N1 Education. And they train PTs. They solely into training PTs on how biomechanics work, how to program properly, how it goes in deeper. It's like the more scientific side of PT. And if you're part of their group, that you don't have to pay for it, mind, but they do a group. But they have units that you can go in and complete, and you can tick off that you've done them. And as you say, I've done most of them. And I feel like I've achieved something, because I feel like I've learned something on each one. And exactly that. I mean, I was building that in my PT group at the moment, but obviously, we can individualize it out. And I can, obviously, recording's not an issue. If I've just got to reel off some videos, that's fine. But it could be something as simple as I might just, I have started doing it, but doing a squat tutorial, how to get into a squat position, how to get into a hinge position.
I would go. Because remember, they're paying you for your ability to fix a problem, not not an information problem. And I think very much a squat, lunge, press up, all of those things are what we think the problem is, but it's not, because it's information to them. Because it's like, you know, when you go, when you drive a car, the problem with that car is not the ability for them to drive. It's the cost that is caused because they're not doing something else to allow them to have the money to spend on the car.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you.
So if you go into the group and you'd see, oh, there's a squat, a lunge, or a press up, they're going to be like, fuck's sake, man, I can't do that because of, you know, Gary's a piece of shit to me every night. My kids are assholes. My work, I hate my work. Last thing I'm going to do is make myself feel like an idiot squatting, lunging, and pressing up.
Yeah, sure.
So if you sat down and said, go through the 6 weeks of videos that are like how to become abundance, how to have an abundance mindset, use all the shit you're qualified to talk to.
Yeah,
because all of a sudden you're like, they're like, hold up. The last group I was in tried to make me do squats, press ups, and lunges. You're now saying that it's just a byproduct. I don't actually have to do that. Sick. I'll go and work on all of the things that are actually the problem to make me not being able to do a squat, press up, and lunge. So for instance, when you said to yourself that after you doing the show, you have now no longer a problem about presenting in front of people. Now, if I told you to present in front of people over and over and over and over again, before I actually fix the problem that caused you not to do that or to do that before, then you would still just not be able to do it. So the information problem is making them stand on stage over and over and over and over again. The problem, or fixing the pain, is causing them to fix the problem that didn't allow them to get on the stage.
Yeah.
So if we were to break it down even more, if you put a squat and lunge and press up on a video, then majority of them maybe do it, but they don't connect enough to it to the point where if you went to them saying, how do you fix your self-love? How do you fix all of those things that we don't even really think about as trainers because we're very much a results-based business. But remember, the modules are just an aid to whatever you're doing on your call and or the product that they got into going there. Plus, they're going to connect to it differently because it's like, okay, I actually have to pay attention. I don't have to feel like I don't have to feel like I'm an idiot not being able to do a press up and lunge and squat. And also, when we revert back to it, there's no point trying to make them do a program like a HIIT program, like you answered before, if they don't know how to do it already.
Yeah.
So it's coming up with solutions that are not just I obviously mean that like if you're doing online, it wouldn't be that anyway, but don't just think about it because that's what we think they need. Ask yourself, what does Karen actually, what causes her to go out and try and find that ladder? What causes her to not feel that way? And then all of a sudden your modules, and like I said, we don't have to do this for a number of weeks. And this is why I split it out the way I do it, is because I really want you to dive deep into it and think about, okay, what is actually really causing my clients to get to the point where they need to go into a gym and ask me for help?
Yeah.
And then first thing, the thing is, don't ever from now on, never second guess yourself. Whatever you think of, write it down. That becomes a module. That becomes a module. That becomes a module, because it's, you'll never tell yourself the wrong thing.
Yeah.
It's always whatever the first one is, and we always revert back to it after we failed going off what we think we need. So, it's not a big thing now because next week we build our community, then we build our marketing funnel. But what we need to do is say, okay, well, we've got our VIP group, but how do we portray that on social media? And next week I give you the social media planner. But then all of a sudden you've got the ability to now say, okay, well, this is how my community is. How do I portray this message out to the community?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Cool. Just a quick one. When you say write the paragraph, what is that entailing? Is that...
So the paragraph is exactly what you said on this call. So you went through and told me exactly what your client was. You can rewatch this. I'll upload it to YouTube after this. Should be done in half an hour or so. But what I mean by that is it's the paragraph in which you told me. The reason I want you to write it down is I'm then going to make you stick it somewhere and continually stick it and read it every single morning, every single day. And so you know it's inbuilt in your brain, because I know you can say it and you know you can say it. But when times are tough and when things are overwhelming, like let's say your PT business needs more clients or whatever, all of a sudden you've forgotten it because it's like fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
So going back and rewriting that paragraph, and then going through and doing those other things as well. We're only ever going to have to do 3 things every week, because otherwise you'll forget it. Too much, too overwhelming, and nothing ever gets done. So really forming those pillars and having that infrastructure down, and then having all of that to present to next week. And then that's just your challenge. And then we move into community.
Sweet. Nice. All good.
Sound
Thank
good?
you very much.
Cool,
Yeah,
cool.
definitely good.
All right. So normal time next week.
Yes, yeah, back to normal times, absolutely fine.
Back to normal time.
Yes.
That's cool.
No more children with birthdays as far as I'm aware.
No, that's cool. Awesome, man. Yeah, like I said, there should be an email every week that you get reminded to, which will have the Zoom link. If you click on that, it'll open up to Zoom. No problem. It should be fine now that you've done it once. It may ask you to maybe update or something like that afterwards, but apart from that, we are good to go. But like I said, if there's any questions, feel free to ask me as many as you want between now and next week. Trello will be uploaded. Do you know how to, you've got a handle on Trello?
Yeah, relatively. You sent me the link and I uploaded it. It makes sense. It's just obviously a sort of a place where we can put everything we've discussed and bits and pieces.
So what I'll do,
it's not too hard to navigate.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll go through and make sure that everything we do becomes a start here thing. And then once you do it, you're switching it to doing. And then once you've done it, you've switched it to done, so that we can go through next week and say, cool, we had these 3 outcomes. This is what we talked about. This is how we did it. Boom.
Yeah, nice. Cool.
Awesome. All right, mate. Sweet. Looking forward to next week, seeing what you come up with. Otherwise, if there's anything else, let me know. Otherwise, have a good rest of your night.
Yeah. Cheers, dude. Thank you. Have a good day,
Perfect, man. All right. See ya. Bye.